Well, I'm getting the hand waves that I am live, so I'm gonna start talking and wait as always for someone in chat to tell me they can hear me so we can get this show on the road. This is my favorite part, Alex. It's the anticipation. You just gotta wait, and then someone says they can hear you, and then everything is good.
Yeah, it's my favorite part also because I don't have to talk.
Yeah,
So
hey, they can hear us. Well, now, so Alex, they did hear you.
yeah, I
Hello,
know, I know.
everyone. Welcome to DevStream number 21 for Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign. We are going to have a fun stream today. I have my handy-dandy friend Alex El Toro out here today. How you doing, Alex?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Just had another small vacation, so it's all great and ready for the so to say final push on some tasks here. It's getting very exciting.
Yeah, I know the most of the teams that I work with are all European based, and I know that the European summer holiday is it's a thing. It's like it seems like everyone goes off in the summer for at least a little bit.
Yeah, especially the guys who have children, because there is
Yeah,
no
sure.
school, so you have no choice pretty much. But I prefer small vacations, for example, several days instead of one a big one. It's kind of more relaxing.
Okay. Did you go anywhere for your holiday?
Yeah, this time the mountains. There's one a very beautiful mountain here. It's called Riwa, and I promise to get you there if you have several spare days the next time you come around.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I think you mentioned before that's where you were heading.
Yeah. There are some very cool waterfalls, lakes, very nice forests. So yeah, just a beautiful mountain.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I'm glad you had a good relaxing trip. I'm sure everyone. Oh, there's the Georgie beard. I guess we'll talk to him a little bit later. We're seeing Georgie vacation pictures right now on the stream. Oh, hey, there's you and your great family. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you had a good holiday, and I'm sure everyone's great to have you back here on the stream. And
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
we're gonna have a fun show today. We're talking about dungeons, which is quite a dark topic coming off of talking about vacation.
Yeah, it's not very summary, but well, it's high time that we mentioned this because well, it's an important part of the game, and it's kind of different than in the first one. So it's time to clear out some of the rules there.
I mean, dungeons could be warm. They could be warm sometimes, I imagine. So maybe dungeons are summery at times.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
they
right.
are cozy. They feed you for free. So
Right, right. Yeah, for free. I'm sure that's how they feel about it. Well, I do want to say as we're starting the stream out today, for those that are in, and I think we didn't preamble this, so it's going to be a little bit of surprise hype. We are showing some new gameplay footage during the stream today. We have quite a few new clips here. So if anyone is available to post on Discord, you guys should sit there and say, "Oh, new video hype," because there's going to be some new gameplay footage shown throughout the stream today. The team has recorded some multiplayer footage and some other footage just showing off the dungeon function. So I know you
yeah,
guys are always hungry for gameplay. We promised you new gameplay, and we deliver. So that should be exciting for everyone. I got to get at
crazy.
least some excitement in the chat, right? Like the Urban Master says that's huge, but actually he's talking about free food in Alex's Dungeon being huge. Hopefully everyone's excited about seeing some new gameplay footage today. So
Uh,
let's jump
yeah.
into. Sorry, go ahead.
No, credits for the gameplay videos go to Georgie because he edited and put together the whole thing. So yeah,
Well, don't worry, Georgie and his wonderful beard. People will have plenty of time to see that later. We are going to have Georgie coming on in a little bit. So, well, let's jump into the topic for the day. So, we are talking about dungeons. By the way, if you have not read the Dev Diary, it is live on our community site at community.knightsofhonor.com. So, we'd love you to join in the conversation there and hang out with us. We always post our Dev Diaries a few days before the stream. So you can go there and read. But we're going to go through most of it today in detail. So if you didn't have a chance to read it, you're not going to miss too much. We'll be able to talk about everything here as we go. So We're talking about Royal Dungeons, and this is something that we've actually talked a couple times throughout the different streams and dev diaries. But I think this is the first time we've really focused in on the topic. So first off, let's talk about what the Royal Dungeon is. I don't think everyone's going to be very familiar. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably familiar if they play the first Knights of Honor, but it's kind of good to give a good high-level summary. So maybe you could just kind of tell everyone in a super high level what the Royal Dungeon is all about.
A Royal Dungeon is the place where the prisoners go, and it's called Royal because what you see there is just the noblemen and the knights that are characters that are important. It actually represents a bigger place, of course, but we only show the characters that matter actually. And these are pretty much the court members and some other more rare characters like rebel leaders and so on.
Okay. So, and this is a feature that was present in the first Knights of Honor. I think a lot of people are familiar with that.
Yeah, it was present, but there's one quite big difference. In the first Knights of Honor, the prisoners were taken into the royal court of the player, so they were allocating a SWAT for character for nobleman. And now in the second game, it's just a separate place which does not mess up with your main knights and noblemen.
Yeah,
So
I
this
think
is the
that
huge
was.
difference.
I've already seen a number of people commenting on the forums on the dev diary that's a very very welcome change. I know me personally in Knights of Honor that was always frustrating because it almost felt like a double hit. You lost access to your knight, but you also lost access to that royal court slot if you wanted to do anything there. So it's kind of not when you capture people. So it kind of allows you like that extra leeway to capture people and not have it punish you as a capturing, which is really cool.
Yeah,
By the way, Hickey Hacker, welcome, and Lord Van Stodor and Depot Park. Really appreciate all your positive vibes. I think it's gonna be a pretty cool game too, so I'm pretty excited about it. So first off, again, I know a number of people are probably familiar with this, but there are some subtle differences as we've already kind of started talking about them. Why don't we talk about how people get into the Royal Dungeon? Like, how do you capture someone? And there are more than one way, right? So the first one I think is pretty obvious, right? Like, what's the first one is going to be in combat. And so
yeah.
how does that work when combat happens? How do you get someone captured in your dungeon?
Well, pretty much it depends how the combat ends. If you're winning, then you're good. But in case you lose the battle or retreat too late because there is some retreating damage and some squads can get annihilated during the retreat, and
Annihilated.
yeah, and in both cases, your army leader, which is usually the marshal, but not always, as we've mentioned before, can get either killed or captured. And if he gets captured, well, he ends up in the royal dungeon of the opposing kingdom. And
Yeah, it seems like in the order of operations of luck, right? You have the best luck, which is you escape unscathed. Then I guess in a way, like the next best luck is being captured, because at least he's
yeah,
not dead, right? And then the worst luck is like, nope, you're done. You didn't make it.
well, sometimes you wish that he was dead, because if you have no money to ransom, we will talk more about the actions later on, and you don't want to abandon that character because it has huge penalties to abandon someone in enemy's foreign dungeon.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You need the SWAT, but you don't have the money, and well, you cannot hire a new guy there. So
Yeah.
sometimes.
Niners Gaming. I was hoping that one of the regulars was going to show up. How you doing, Niners? Good to see you. I think everyone's slowly dribbling in. So maybe they're all on their summer breaks too. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely kind of oh, of course, Kings of Honor here. Well, you didn't say anything, man. How am I supposed to know you're here when you're quiet like a mouse? So the what would you say? I mean, obviously, I think it's there's a dynamic chance, but like you have those three options, right? Like capture, free, captured, or killed. What do you think the chances are of getting in the Royal Dungeon if you had to like kind of peg it as a guess?
Well, whether the army leader will retreat, it's not just a chance, but it's a matter of how early he retreats from a battle. So if
Oh,
you
so it's multiple
if you wait,
factors involved in that
yeah,
chance.
there is some small
Okay,
portion
okay.
of chance, but if you try to retreat too late or just straight out lose the battle, then there is no chance to escape. And between dying and getting captured, well, the chances are higher that the knight will be captured because it's historically correct. Because the noblemen were quite a good thing uh, to get as your bonus for the battle, because you can always sell them back to their families, and they always had some heraldry signs and so on, and so everybody can see that they're expensive, so to say. This was like a sign: don't kill me, you'll get money if I'm a wife. I'm
Right,
more,
right.
more worthy as a wife prisoner.
Yeah, well, as long as the king, i.e., you, the sovereign, agrees with that evaluation of worth, right? That's not always the case. By the way,
Yeah.
Yavor, good to see you. I'm glad to see the trio of Niners Gaming, Kings of Honor, and Yavor around. And Yolo Swardian, good to see you too, man. Or woman, I actually am not sure which. Yeah, retreats definitely is. I mean, you got to save yourself sometimes, right? You're a knight. And Field man, the whole crew is here. This is great. So I think I think it's just part of like combat, right? There's always a risk there. And that's part of the risk is actually, you may get killed or you may get captured if things don't go the way you want. So that's just part of it. So
Yeah.
and I guess it kind of makes sense because it's very much part of how things went back then. Like you said, like if you were a knight and you were in actually I think it was very true for a long time where it was like even in like some more modern conflict where it's like the lieutenants and the generals, you sometimes would not target them because you wanted to capture them, whether it was be for intel or for leverage or whatever. So I think it's a
Yeah.
cool historical accuracy element there where it's not a simple like kill everyone and win the battle. There's different elements that are also involved there.
Yeah, even if you want the enemy dead, it's better to publicly execute him afterwards than just kill him on the battlefield, if possible.
Yeah.
If possible.
So we covered the first way of how you can capture somebody. Let's go into the second big way someone can be captured, which is I want to say favorite, but also least favorite, which is the espionage system, right? The spy. And it's
Yeah.
only my least favorite because whenever I've tried to do this, and it's probably because, balance and features are still definitely in flux and working, but my goodness, was it punishing. So, like, when you're doing espionage activities, that's also another way you can get captured, right?
Yeah. Each action that you do as a spy, well, it has some risk. The good part is that you know how much that risk is, and
Right, right, right.
if you succeed in your action, you know what your success chances are. Then the chances for getting captured are halved. So you can succeed but still be captured afterwards. But if you fail, the chances are much bigger that you get captured. And this is especially true for spies that don't have enough skills. They're low level spies. And if they try something risky, well, there's a big chance that they will get captured. So it's kind of a part of the job for spies.
Yeah. By the way, I like how Kings of Honor is happy to be part of the crew. I think you spelled crew wrong though. Since the Knights of Honor game, it should be Krew. And maybe you guys have a little. So like, I'm an old school gamer. I remember back in the old days. God, I'm gonna age myself now, right? When like clans were all the rave. I was definitely a clanner in a lot of my early day gaming communities. So maybe there's a crew that can be formed here with the budding regulars that show up all the time. Um, yeah, I feel like the espionage way of being captured is something I've talked about quite a bit. I know I've told a couple of my stories of my knights being captured and then sending a spy to try to rescue them and then not working out and all those different things. So I think there's a lot of good gameplay there. And now we're talking about the other side of it, how the dungeon kind of reflects those actions.
Yeah, right, right. I me in particular, I especially love to execute enemy spy kings. In the second they end up in the dungeon, just directly execute those guys, because sometimes they have some skills that will help them get out from the dungeon and so on. And yeah,
Ruthless. Oh man.
yeah.
Well,
Be-
there's one more way that we haven't talked about yet that people can get captured. So, and I think this is actually kind of a neat thing, which is and I believe this is new. I don't believe this is in the original Knights of Honor. I can't completely recall, but I don't remember this being in the original Knights of Honor. And this is when war breaks out between two kingdoms for the first time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you're smart and you're starting the war, it will be a good move to withdraw your diplomats and merchants. But if you are the one who's under attack, or if you forget to withdraw them, there is a chance that if they are on a mission in that kingdom, well, they get imprisoned. Not always. Especially for diplomats, it's a rather rare event, but it happens from time to time, and it's very nasty start of a war when you lose some of your characters, especially when you're backstabbed from a trade partner, and yeah, you lose your trade level and what of income, and yeah, one character is out for the time being.
Yeah,
And
I think this is a very interesting dynamic because it allows both sides of a war to leverage this moment, I guess. Because obviously, if you're gonna start a war with someone, you probably want to recall your diplomats and merchants ahead of time. But that also can be kind of a tip of the hat. It's like, oh, you just pulled all
yeah,
your guys away, maybe something's going on. But same thing, if you want to do like a surprise attack on somebody, if you have diplomats or merchants active with them, it can almost make it more enticing because if you get lucky and grab one of them, then all of a sudden right at the gate you have a ransom opportunity or something you can hold over them. So that little extra layer of intrigue, I mean, it's subtle, but it just adds another layer of depth into how you consider both the functionality of your dungeon and how that plays into planning your conflicts.
yeah, indeed. And there's one bonus method for capturing knights. I'll just quickly go through it. There is one new spy action. It's added just a month ago, I think, and it's the possibility to frame somebody's knights, and they end up in the prison of the kingdom. They are sent in on a mission. So yeah, this is the fourth way.
Oh yes,
It's very
there's a couple
tricky.
others. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that wasn't. We didn't talk about that in the diary, but that's kind of a cool. So you guys are getting sneak peeks here. That's a cool like extra espionage function. I guess there's some additional like. I guess we shouldn't give all of them away, but there's some additional special ways that you can maybe grab someone into the royal dungeon aside from the three main paths. So interesting. By the way, yeah, you go Swardian. I buy his goat of arms. I don't think we use goat of arms. I think it's coat of arms, but we'll let it pass. So what happens when what are kind of the basics? So someone gets captured, they're thrown into a dungeon. What are the changes to that knight's functionality? Say I get one of my knights captured. What happens when that takes place?
Well, basically, this knight cannot be used for any of his usual actions. Of course, he cannot lead army or trade or whatever he can do. But one thing
Oh, by the
that
way, I'm going to cut in the gameplay footage. Some people may notice that the auto battle animation there was sped up, and that's because I think they're using a 4x speed there. It does not usually look that fast on normal speed. Sorry, keep going, Alex.
yeah, it's 3 or 4 times faster, I think, because I was playing that game also. And we're very experienced, and usually, especially early game, we play on higher speed. That's normal. Yeah, what we decided to keep as function of that knight who is captured is the governing bonuses, because they are especially high in our game. And if you lose a governor, this pretty much is equal to lose a province, because it stops producing gold, commerce, anything. So we decided it would be too punishing for the players, and they will renounce their knights straight away. And that's why we decided to keep it, and it thematically fits fine, because governing is not being there all the time, but setting the principles and teaching everyone who works with you how to do their job. So it kind of fits. So yeah, that's about
Yeah,
it.
I know that. By the way, I'm not sure if you're watching the chat, but it's like the goat. I think one person mentioned the goat thing. I'm pretty sure it was Hugo Swarty, and he brought it up. And now there's like 8 or 9 different goat puns coming in. I don't even know if I should. There was negotiate, go to go, goat out of here, bleeding hell, goats in dungeons. It just keeps on going. We really should. Someone should start a thread in the forums that just captures all these ridiculous goat puns. That way we have them all logged in one place. Yeah, I know this is actually somewhat controversial when you talk about. I want to say somewhat because one person commented on this, but I think it's a valid statement, which is, when your knight gets captured, the fact that you still get governor bonuses seems incorrect. Like if you have your knight captured, you should lose all advantages to them. But I definitely get the point that you're making, which is if you lost those bonuses, it would be even more exceptionally harsh and punishing. So it's like, how do we balance out the, I guess the fantasy of what would happen if your knight got captured with the balance of the gameplay, because it's kind of a tricky balance there.
Yeah, we don't want to make the players over defensive. If we do that, they will never play with spies,
Exactly.
avoid all battles, and so on, just because they don't want to lose the governor, and that's too harsh. It will be bad for the game. So here, I would say that it's more of a gameplay over historical accuracy and thematically correct decision, but. Well, it's not so bad, I think.
Yep. Well, now that our knights are in prison, I think we're gonna swap and bring Georgie on here in a second, and we're gonna talk to you about the actions that you can take in a dungeon. I should have pre-planned this with our lovely friends in our production company to have like some kind of like animation where it goes over your face, and then you just get moved away, and then Georgie comes in. So maybe Alex, you're locked in prison for the in between. We should have we missed an opportunity there. That could have been really cool. But
Okay.
Alex, thank you very much. We're gonna bring Georgie on here. Georgie, how you doing?
Hello. Good to be back. I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
doing good. Great. Thanks.
Your beard, how's your beard doing? Your beard's doing good as always, it looks like.
Growing a bit. Yes, slow and steady.
All your vacation pics look like you had a good time.
Yeah, it was nice. Went to Greece this time around because it's really close to us. So it's kind of my go-to for the summer sometimes. And also went to a Romanian road trip. So it was fun as well. In the mountains.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah. It was a very many kilometers were traveled for a week for me. It was a bit hectic, and then I needed a break from the break, which was interesting.
Yeah, I find that true. That's often true, right? Like when you're back from a holiday, you need a break from a holiday. I try.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work this way, but I often try to plan like 1 or 2 days off at the end of my trip at home, just so you can get home and recover a couple days before you go back. Because you definitely travel, as fun as it is, and it's great to be out and about. You do get kind of exhausted and need a couple days on the tail end. So
Absolutely, yeah.
well, we are talking dungeons, and we're gonna use
Yep.
Alex is captured, so he's in our dungeon now. And now that we have the whole knights captured side, I think the next step is to talk about what kind of things that you can do when you're in a dungeon. So obviously, we mentioned before that normal actions are restricted when you're captured, but prisoners aren't completely helpless, right? They have some things that they can do when they get captured.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the main things, obviously, I said about the governing, but also we're gonna touch on those briefly afterwards. There are many actions that are that can be performed by the spies themselves, by the prisoners themselves, or by you as a kingdom to try and do something with them.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a couple different skills. So as the way I understand it, like different skills open up different action opportunities. And we're not gonna there's a whole bunch of different action opportunities that are opened up based on the skill set, but we'll talk about a couple of them right now. So one of them is like pardon me. I think we've actually talked about this some in a previous stream, but one of them is inspire riot, which I guess is if you have a leadership skill, is that right?
Yes, definitely, it's leadership. Also, one thing to notice, important bit, is that imprisoned knights can also not learn any skills, so you have to be prepared beforehand. You gotta add those skills, and I mean, obviously, a lot of skills have other different effects. But if you have a marshal with leadership, and you have that inspire riot action, you're kind of safer. You know that you can maybe do something after you're imprisoned. So yeah, inspire riot is basically a really interesting action because it not only allows you to escape with your marshal, but it can also allow other prisoners and the dungeon to escape alongside him. Obviously, some can die as well, so it's a bit of randomness as to what can come out of the event. But in the
The
end of the
riots
day,
are
you
dangerous.
can really make a really powerful riot for a kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that the one time that I ran into that, it was in my sequence that I've told before where I had like multiple spies captured. I think I got in this really bad scenario where a marshal and two spies were all captured at once. But I didn't know about Inspire Riot. I had the leadership skill on one of them, and I'm like, oh shoot, really? And I
Yeah.
tried it, and it worked, and everyone got free. And I'm like, man, I spent the last like hour and a half trying to free just one dude, and now I have all three dudes free. And that kind of worked out for the better. So that's a cool one. There's
Absolutely.
also another one called Organize Escape, and that's triggered by the plotting skill, which I think is a espionage primary skill, right? So
It is an
is that only
espionage one. Yeah.
available to, is that available only to spies? Spy
Yes,
classes?
this opportunity is, well, not an opportunity, actually, so available from them, and it's kind of like a safety net because plotting also gives you some bonuses to spying in the long run. But if you do get captured as a spy, it helps you. And the difference between Inspire Riot and Organize Escape is that with Organize Escape, you simply perform to escape by yourself. You don't drag anyone with you. But with both, there is a chance for you to die in the process or to be imprisoned once again, or yeah, so it can just fail or be disastrous.
Yeah, and I think Austria777 is asking a question about the success chance of spy actions and has it been increased by education when you educate the spy, and that's absolutely
Yep.
true. As you improve the skills of the spy, I think we talked about this on our espionage dev diary and DevStream, so you can definitely read that as a reference point, which is on our community site, community.knightsofhonor.com. Go check it out. Happy plug.
And
But
also
the
some. Oh, sorry.
it's also that point you're making where you want to like prep your guys before you go in. The success chance of even organized escape and some of those actions could be increased based on the level. So if you have someone that's more better leveled up and they get captured, your chances of getting out are also higher. So that kind of preparation for the riskier actions can really go a long way.
Yeah, and there's also some intertwined connections. For example, if I remember correctly, it was conspiracy that gives you a bonus for Inspire Riot. So technically, you can
Oh,
have a spy with leadership because it's a military skill that any knight can attain. And then if you also have conspiracy, there's a higher chance for that to succeed. So you can actually kind of like maybe plant a spy somewhere, like fail, and then organize a massive escape, maybe.
right, right. Oh, that makes sense because it's like you kind of build a spy to almost be like an anti-dungeon spy, like someone that specializes in getting people out.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously, if you capture a spy like that, you can browse his skills. So for now, we have that unlocked for players for them to see the skills of the prisoners. So you kind of can expect if things will go sour, you just execute them. Like Alex
Yeah.
says, sometimes executing is the most safest thing to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. 'Cause if you capture someone, obviously when you capture someone, you can see kind of information about them. And if you
Yeah,
capture someone and then see that their skill set makes them more risky as a prisoner, it may be worth taking the hit, reputation hit, and the reduced opinions to just get rid of them versus risking them. Especially if you have multiple people in the dungeon, you don't want that to happen.
yeah,
So
yeah.
another thing, and I think Austria 777 was even kind of, or 7777 mouthful. I'm gonna just call you Austria from now on. Sorry. I was also kind of hinting at this, which is you can send a spy or infiltrate a spy into a kingdom and actually use that spy before they're even captured to potentially try to get somebody out.
Yeah, definitely. Those are, well, each spy has two main ways to free prisoners from the kingdom he has infiltrated.
Okay.
One of them is for you to free your own knights if you have any of them. It's not an opportunity, it's a constant action, so you can always perform it if it's active. And then the other action is that you can help some friendly prisoners escape. So by friendly, we mean, for example, your teammates in multiplayer, people, kingdoms you have high relationship with, up to like after a certain threshold, allies and stuff like that. So those are two kind of different actions, but they kind of do the same thing, and they have a bit of different success chances and costs.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it makes sense that you have like and same where like as you level up the spy, those chances of being able to release them successfully increase. So it's like you almost can build a spy to be kind of that that espionage jailbreaker to go in and attempt to rescue someone if they've gotten captured.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting dynamic, especially if you play like in multiplayer. Oftentimes you're playing together with someone and they're like, "Oh my god, my Marshall was captured by friends. Can you go there and do something about it?" That's a cool synergy
Oh,
that can happen.
right.
Yeah,
So I guess if you,
definitely.
yeah, there's certain actions you can do that would save everybody, even if they're not on your side.
Yeah, absolutely. Also,
Oh,
I
there's sort
wanna.
of that multiplayer
Sorry.
teamwork stuff, that collusion there.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we added this opportunity to free friendly nights as well. But there's also one interesting one that I want to mention is that if you have a merchant somewhere, you can also gain an opportunity for an exquisite ransom that really costs a lot more gold. But it is a merchant action, so you kind of like give the money to the right people in the kingdom, and you can perform a ransom as well.
Interesting. So, merchants can have an opportunity, maybe even to have a side way to get somebody out as well.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
not their main thing, but it's a little bit of a mix between espionage and merchanty things. But in the end of the day, if you have a lot of gold, you can kind of afford that if you want to.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and this kind of leads to there are, I mean, all of the espionage actions or these actions have risks associated with them, obviously, because if you're,
Mhm.
a spy in someone's kingdom and you attempt to jailbreak someone, if that fails, you may end up in jail yourself, which happened to me in that famous story that I've told. So
Yep.
like, I think it's famous to me. I wonder how many people actually remember me complaining about it in a previous stream. Maybe it's just only famous in my own mind. But there are safe ways. I'm actually curious how many people remember that spy story. I think I told it like 7 or 8 months ago. There are risk-free ways to get prisoners out too, though. Ways that don't require espionage actions. So we should go through those. I guess the first one is probably pretty obvious, which is just diplomatically.
Yeah, absolutely. You can negotiate the the release of knights, for example, during war. You can offer tributes, either demand from them to release your knights or offer to release their knights, and also during peaceful times as well.
Yeah, I
So
think
these
in one
are
of the gameplay clips that we show, I'm not sure if it's already gone up there yet. On the
yeah,
who are
I think
playing.
it's up right now, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the clips there is that point where like there's a war going on, and to negotiate peace is part of like releasing the prisoner as part of the negotiation process.
Yeah. I remember distinctly how I declined that because I was like, "Oh, I'm going to destroy them soon. I'm not going to accept any offer."
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Right. So like diplomacy is one, I guess, kind of free way of based on how your relationships run that you can get someone out of prison potentially.
yeah. There's also some opportunities about ransoming that we added recently. So if
Okay.
your knight is in your court and he is imprisoned by someone else, uh, from time to time you can get an opportunity that says sources tell us that the kingdom is likely to accept our ransom if we offer them that amount of gold. And the gold required for ransoming is based on multiple factors. For example, how old the knight is. The older he is, the cheaper it is to ransom him, basically.
Okay.
Also, his class level. I forget the rest, but there's like 5 or 6 factors that really play a role of having. If he is a king, obviously, and the prince, or if
Yeah.
he is a successor, stuff like that. If he is a special religious character and whatnot.
Yes, that actually leads us to our other way that you can rescue someone. And by the way, Grafladen, Fladen, welcome to the stream. Yeah, so we talked about the diplomacy way, but you're kind of jumping into the next one, which is you also can just ransom somebody, like offer them
Mhm.
money to get someone back. It's a little bit diplomacy, but it's not quite the same thing. Because I guess in diplomacy you can do that for free, just be like, hey, can you just release this guy, or can we get to peace with it? But there's a whole nother way, which is just offering someone money and ransoming them. And I
Yeah,
guess
and
if I have someone captured, I can try to ransom them, or if
yeah.
someone has captured one of my guys, I can say, hey, if I give you money, will you bring them back to me?
Absolutely.
Hi, DJ Isma, how you doing? See, I saw your name pop up, and this time I'm like, oh, it's DJ Isma. I'm not gonna, because the first couple times I completely slaughtered your name. So now I got you. I got you on. You showed up to the other streams that we do too. So I got your name down. So I love how different people are joining both multiple streams. It's kind of fun to get to know different people. I really feel like there's an advantage sometimes to just ransoming someone to get them back. And I definitely use ransoms to go generate money sometimes during war. It's like, hey, I need some cash. I got your big powerful marshal back, and I'm pretty sure I got you beat, but maybe I can like extort some money from you before the war is over.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, if you have a spy captured, it's oftentimes a good idea to do the ransoming, because we mentioned, I think, in the stream about espionage, that kingdoms remember when a spy was captured, so they can't really infiltrate you again with that spy. I mean, they can do another spy, but that's another investment. They need to have the skills and whatnot. So it's kind of safer to ransom spies. But if you free their marshal, it's a bit of a balancing act. I mean, if he is level 15 and you're not really winning the war, it's a risky endeavor.
Sorry, I'm typing to our production company. I just noticed we're going to be bringing Alex back for the next segment, but it looks like his stream is frozen. So we may just have you on for segment 4 here. So
All right,
everyone loves the Georgie beard. Maybe Georgie beard is going to keep going. So and I think another thing we didn't talk about, which is some of this stuff actually changes. We talked about the opinion system a little bit, where you have like different opinions from like nobility or the peasantry or whatever. And I think the nobility aspect does change based on some of these actions too, right? Because if you go and ransom someone or get someone ransomed or rescued or whatever, you can get those different nobility triggers coming in.
Yes, and the nobility also really hates you if you abandon a knight. So if you just renounce them and you say basically, I don't care about you, they get angry. So the nobility is really sensitive in those matters. Everything that is sort of dealing with your knights in the dungeon outside, you can really expect fluctuations with those.
Yeah, by the way, we're now getting beard and hair compliments in chat. Yes, like my beard and like your hair. Or like my hair and like your beard. I got it backwards. We're getting combined together. We're like this like hair combo. Maybe we should just call ourselves the hair combo brothers. I don't know. So originally we were going to bring Alex back for this next segment to talk about what you can do with prisoners in your dungeon. But I guess since it's funny, everyone can't see this, but on my screen, Alex is just frozen like this.
Yeah, he's just thinking about something really deeply.
Yeah, he's really thinking about these dungeons right now. I can see him actually chatting, so his computer is fine. But I guess his camera decided to go on vacation. So Georgie, you're with us to the end. I guess everyone just gets more Georgie beer. Sorry, Alex. I know you can hear us. I feel bad. So we have the next section is really talking about the kind of things that you can do when knights are captured. So now we're kind of switching the equation a little bit, and it's more about, okay, I've captured someone, they're in my royal dungeon, now what can I do with them? And there's a lot of different things that I think you can do with captured prisoners. And obviously, we've covered some of this a little bit in the terms of like those actions you can do when it comes to doing a diplomatic relationship, or you can do like a ransom action, which is one of my favorites, especially when I'm trying to get some money to build something. We actually have the video playing right now where the diplomacy thing is going, and I think you reject it because you're like, nope, I'm not going to give this guy back to you. So that's that one. But there's there's actions that you can take, I guess, that are under your own power that really have no you're not waiting for someone to accept something. And obviously the first one is, you can be a nice guy, right? You're a nice guy. You can just let him go. You know what? Go back to your home. It's fine.
Yeah. It's interesting because all of these actions you can perform with knights really depend on the type of knight that's in your dungeon. So they could be just an enemy knight, or they could be a rebel who might be just a randomly spawned rebel on the map, or it might be a rebel who originated from your court. It also might be a knight who is renounced by another kingdom, so he is considered an exile by game terms. Or even you can imprison a mercenary. And each of those different types of knights have different reactions for the execution, for the releases and whatnot. So
So you're ahead of
yeah.
us. We haven't talked about executions yet. So
Sorry.
don't yeah. Right now we're just talking about releases. So,
Yeah.
but no matter what, whenever you have someone captured, you can always just be like, you know what, you're free to go. Walked out of my dungeon. No more free food. No more summer vacation on a hot cell. But you can head out. I wonder how many people in chat actually from Knights of Honor one, because this is the Knights of Honor one thing you also do. How many like to just release him and be good guy versus like try to take advantage of him? I'm curious what people will say.
That's an interesting
there's
question.
different benefits now because if you release somebody, the new system with opinions and whatnot, there are benefits to releasing someone beyond just the diplomatic benefits. There's benefits to yourself when you release somebody.
Yeah, definitely. One of the downsides, let's start with that, is that you lose crown authority. But on the upside, you might get a boost to your nobilian opinion if you release a knight who is a rebel. Peasantry might also change. Clergy might be angry though. So it's some of those opinion changes are absolutely concrete, 100%. Some of them might happen. It's a bit of a dynamic thing, and if you hover on the action, you can kind of see and orientate yourself what might happen. And an interesting thing for releasing knights is also that if the knight is, for example, a rebel, and then you release him, there is a chance for him to rebel again afterwards. So you kind of have that in the back of your mind. You do get some gold for releasing a rebel, for example, but you also run the chance of him appearing once again with an even stronger army.
Yeah. And I feel like, by the way, I apologize for the quality. I think the reason why Alex froze is the platform that we're using. We're using Discord right now to do the cameras. I think we're having some bandwidth issues with Discord because I'm noticing my stream quality is going down a little bit too. So I think there's something going on the interwebs. I don't think it's just Alex. So apologize for the quality drop. Sometimes the internet isn't your friend, but we're still online, so that's good. I'm going to count that as a win. Yeah. I feel like it's definitely a balancing act because you have these you.
Oh no, I think we lost Brad as well.
Am I still there?
We can hear you.
Yeah, so Discord is yeah, hold on one second. Guys, bear with us for 1 second. I think you can still hear me, but we just had Discord explode on us. So 1 second. Hopefully you guys can still hear me as I'm talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear. Okay, good. Yeah, we're still online. My camera dropped out, and I got dropped from the call. I'm going back on right now. It'll take us a couple seconds to reframe everything, and then we'll be able to get back online here.
Alex should be reconnecting as well, I guess.
I think we're good. Yeah, it's just I think the something is going on with the internets right now, and we're having a little bit of not our fault background bandwidth issues, but we're good. We're back on now, so we're good to go. So
we have some spies doing some nasty stuff to us.
Yeah, right. There's some espionage going on. They're trying they're sabotaging the series of tubes. Which, by the way, if any of you guys know the series of tubes reference, 5 points to you because that's an old school one. So I feel like it's kind of a complex choice because sometimes, and the next one is executing, right? Sometimes you want to execute a knight because you want to get someone that's risky in your dungeon taken care of. But sometimes, you don't want to take, that's a much bigger hit to your kingdom power, and it's also a big reputation hit. So sometimes it is advantageous to just release that knight and get the boost diplomatically instead of dealing with the execution part. But you can always off with their heads too. That's always an option as well, right?
Absolutely. It's a thing that you gain crown authority from that because you obviously show that you're a ruler who is not afraid to make the tough decisions, some sort of metaphor like that. But an interesting thing is that you also reduce the nobility of their people. So basically the nobility of the knight who has been executed or angry that their king didn't do the necessary steps to free him. And obviously this also executing also reduces your relationship with the kingdom of the prisoner if he has a kingdom. If he is a rebel or an exile, you don't really care about that, but that also plays a role. So sometimes releasing compared to executing is a better way to do it if you want to sign peace. But if you're
We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. I was saying that sometimes releasing is useful for diplomatic reasons. If you want to sign peace, for example. I know that on the other hand, executing reduces your relationship, and it also depends once again on how powerful the knight was. So that ransoming cost we mentioned, it also reflects in things like how much relationship drops or increases, and also for various. For example, also crown authority kind of depends. Whatever crown authority you have, it depends what opinion drops you have, how much of them will drop or increase.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that I always like. I don't like executing because I think I always try to play the good sovereign, right?
Yeah.
So for me, executing someone just feels like I mean, obviously sometimes it is a good option, but often I'd rather either release someone, ransom them. I just don't like taking the big diplomacy hit, but I feel like it really depends on the kind of sovereign you're trying to play. If you want to be like a ruthless, scorched earth type person, then I
Yep.
mean, go to town and see if you can fight the world, right? Like people are not gonna
Yeah.
like it, but you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It actually reminds me of a very old, and I think I may have told this story before. We were talking about Alpha Centauri a long time ago. An old game I played of Alpha Centauri where I got really mad at this one kingdom and I decided to planet bust every one of their cities, regardless of any other consequences. I wanted none of their population to still be alive on the planet. It was just one of those games where it's like this. It was Deirdre, and she had pissed me off to no end because I was just mad, and I'm like, that's it. No Deirdre city will survive on this planet, and I built a ton of planet busters and I blew up every single one. And it was just part of the game you're playing. So I feel like you can have those kind of fantasies and have fun with them. In Knights of Honor, the same thing. Like if you're really upset with someone, in Knights of Honor 2, it's like every knight I capture,
Oh yeah.
done. And that's just part of it. I'm gonna love watching you scream at me every time, but they're not gonna come back. That's just fun. So the last one I think that we haven't talked about yet is something that's it's really kind of compelling because this ties into a couple other systems we've talked about before, like Rebellion, which is the deal action, the ability to offer someone in your dungeon an opportunity to get out. So not like you're not giving them to another kingdom, you're not releasing them, but you can kind of release them, but in a sneaky way. Like there's some things that you can do to make a deal. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. How does the deal thing work? What does that entail?
Yeah, so when you attempt to make a deal with a prisoner, there are a few different things that can happen. Obviously, your goal with deal is for him to become a rebel, and what happens is that you can send him to a different kingdom. You can send him to only nearby kingdoms, but still. So, for example, you can't really harass someone on the other side of the map. But then again, most of the times you wage war with people that are around you, so it's really useful in that way. And those characters can, if they don't succeed, if the action does not succeed, an interesting outcome is that the prisoner might turn his back on you. So he might rebel, but against you, which is a small chance for it to backfire, but it's always there. And when you click the action, you're always considering that as a possibility. Obviously, the prisoner can also just flat out refuse and stay in the dungeon, or he can disappear from your dungeon and not be seen ever again. So those are a few ways.
I've definitely leveraged that in a game that I've played where I captured someone that was receptive to being a rebel in another kingdom that I was at war with, and it's almost like setting loose another enemy that your enemy has to deal with. Like the enemy of your enemy is my friend, so it's like you get that. You have to spend a little bit of gold to do it. It's not free. It doesn't always work, but it is a compelling opportunity to make things just a little more challenging for your enemy by sending that rebel there. Or if it's someone that you're trying to soften before you go to war, even sending like rebels early by trying to turncoat people. So
yeah,
there's almost that extra layer of trying to either turn a rebellion in your favor, not just by stamping it out, but also by leveraging those rebels in a different way. And of course, there is coding force. I think you'll be okay. You gotta hold on. I know it's tough, man. I know it's tough, but you gotta hold on. We'll get there. It's like the release of game. I die, please.
Yeah. By the
You're
way,
not in the dungeon of no Knights of Honor. You will get Knights of Honor eventually. I promise you. It's it's. I know you guys want it, but I also know that you guys want it to be the best game it can be, and you'd be really upset if we gave you a game that was half cooked. So we're gonna make sure it's a game that you're gonna enjoy. At least our hope. That's our hope.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like the opportunity to take advantage of a prisoner in a different way is I think a lot of fun, and that
Can I
adds some layers.
also mention just one specific thing for D-Link that I forgot to say? It's really important that he becomes your loyalist. So not only he is a rebel leader, but he can take provinces for you and eventually maybe join into your kingdom or sign independence or whatever. But he is a warrior, so that's really an added benefit to that. And also one downside to renouncing knights is that, from what I remember, if I remember correctly, there is a higher likelihood for a knight to accept the deal if he is exiled by his kingdom.
Yeah. Now we're going to move on to questions, but I guess there's one last comment that I'm going to make about this whole system, which is you can also just let them rot in prison. That's always an option too. They eventually will die in prison. It may take a while, but that's going to happen eventually. But like Alex was talking about earlier, there's always a risk to that because the longer they're in prison, the more chances they could escape, the more chances someone else could rescue them. So there's a lot of, you can always make the decision to do nothing, but doing nothing is still kind of a decision. There's still implications there. I've definitely had quite a few guys just rot away in prison forever, and that's what happens. But I've also had quite a few eventually successfully escape, and it's always kind of a risk.
Yep. And if you let people stay in your dungeon for too long, obviously there's also events that can happen from time to time. They might die just from withering in the dungeon in the horrible damn cells. They might escape together.
That food, man. It's that food. It's that great dungeon food. They're getting fed goat.
Well, that would be barbaric. That maybe in a pagan kingdom.
They slaughter their goat of arms and feed the goat of arms of their own people to themselves or something. I don't know. All right. Well, let's move on to questions. We have a little bit of time for questions here, and I want to give our last 8 minutes to it. So first off, as always, we always take a few questions from the community site. Again, it's community.knightsofhonor.com. We welcome you to join. And if you ask questions, I always grab them in my handy-dandy script before the stream. So you'll guarantee to at least have a much higher chance, if not a guaranteed chance, to get them read. So first one was from Ivory Knight, I guess Yavor, which we kind of hit on this a little bit earlier, which is, so Ivory Knight says, so is it to be understood that the dungeon is still attached to the royal court, such that imprisoned knights take up royal court space? This is actually a function of Knights of Honor 1, which I did not enjoy. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. There is a whole different set of slots for the dungeon now. They have nothing to do with your royal court. They're completely separated. So as you get prisoners, you'll fill up slots in your dungeon. Your dungeon does right now have a max number of slots, and you can increase that. So you can get to the point where you can take no more prisoners, but it's separate from your royal court. So that's... we covered that a little bit earlier, but I wanted to make sure I answered that live on stream so that Ivory Knight, who I think is there, gets that answer for himself.
Just to mention that the capacity for the dungeon is a soft limit currently. So if you have many prisoners, you are very likely to have many prisoners escape after a while. But you can go over the soft limit, but it's really not advisable because bad things will happen in your kingdom.
Yeah.
Next
question is from, I'm going to probably pronounce this person's name wrong, so I apologize. Mensie, I think, Mensie, from our community site. So they ask, will this mechanic be related to capital cities or provinces? For example, if we conquer capital city or some nation that has prisoners, will we be able to choose their fate? So as I understand it right now, capturing an actual province itself doesn't really have an impact on anything with the royal dungeon.
Yes,
however, if a knight is defending that city, so say someone sends a marshal or a squad or an army that's being led by a different knight, and you end up capturing the city, that also is the same as defeating that squad, and you could capture the knight that is in defense of the city. So there's no dynamic elements where like the royal dungeon is housed in a particular town. or province. But if someone is defending that and the battle is over, it works just like a normal battle, and you have an opportunity to potentially capture someone that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can maybe mention one aspect where the capital kind of has a bit of a role, and that's, for example, if you release a marshal or a marshal, he will appear back in his capital realm. So
Okay.
if you
Yeah,
really
okay.
want to go in depth with that, you can kind of like expect that happening. You release him and capture him again. It's a bit of an advanced strategy, but yeah, it's a minor thing. All in all, the capitals don't really have a lot of
Okay.
meaning.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think we really wanted to keep the rural dungeon functionality at the kingdom level, so we didn't make it too overly complicated. As
Yes,
someone was saying earlier, and I appreciate that vote of confidence. We really the game has a lot of depth and there's a lot of layers. Onion, a lot of layers. But we are very careful to keep things approachable. I mean, one of the goals of Knights of Honor as a franchise, I feel like Knights of Honor 1 accomplished this in its time, and we're really focused on this with Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign, is to make it a game that you can jump in and play if you're familiar with how these types of games work. And I think you'll find it very comfortable to get in. So let me grab a couple questions that we missed throughout the stream. Hugo Swardian asking, imprisoned knights be allowed to turncoat or turn goat? Please. We answered that one already. Yes, it's possible. Brokovan asked, will it be possible to play as a Papal States? As I know right now, you can't play as a Papal States,
right
correct?
now you cannot play as them. Yes, you cannot pick them.
Yeah. We did that because there's a lot of specific mechanics around those questions, or that nation when it comes to how it ties to religion. That was going to make things complicated. Yavor, if I missed your question on the forums, I apologize. I thought I grabbed all the questions that I saw, so please feel free to repost it in chat, and I'll make sure to grab it right now. I apologize about that. I thought I grabbed all of them. Let me go on to, let's see what else we got here. Hugo Swardian also asked, can we get a captive out with a battering? I think that's another goat pun.
Can we chain
No,
prisoners to goats?
yeah. Let's see. Ragnar2299 asks, can we destroy a city castle in the game?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
No, you can't.
Oh, I mean conquer.
You
Not
can conquer.
actually
You can't
destroy it.
destroy.
Yeah. You can
Yeah,
put
yeah.
a settlements though, so you can put a castle settlement, for example, when it recovers after some time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Yavor, your question about battles. Yeah, I think we've mentioned that before. We're obviously we'll show battles when they're ready. They're actually going through a lot of iteration right now. They're just really not ready to talk about. They're still heavily in development. There's so many things that are moving and changing right now, even the visuals, the game mechanics, control. So it's just not at a point where we can really talk about it or show it publicly yet. But as soon as it's to the point where we're able to bring in some details, we certainly will. We are still definitely doing those RTS battle options for players that want to have that immersive experience, and we're trying to make that as cool as it can be. So look forward to more of that news down the road. Depot Park asks, can you have more than one dungeon? So no, you really can't have more than one dungeon, but like as we were talking about before, you can expand your dungeon through a number of different ways.
Yeah, and you can increase the cap by different buildings and upgrades and whatnot.
Yep. And then I think. Oh, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure the context of this one, but Ragnar2299 asks, can we put prisoners in other prisons? So I'm guessing he's asking, can you trade a prisoner from your kingdom to another kingdom? That's an interesting idea. We've never talked about that before.
It is an interesting concept. Right now you can't. I agree, it's really interesting. I guess the closest thing to that is what you mentioned earlier with the transfer. If a kingdom is destroyed, then their prisoners became ownership of the kingdom which destroyed that kingdom. So that's the closest thing kind of to that.
Yeah, but you know what? And now I'm doing this live, so it's probably a bad idea. But I kind of like that mechanic as an idea, because imagine you're in a defense pact or in an aggression pact, and you're the leader of the defense pact or the aggression pact, and one of your allies ends up capturing somebody. There could be a lot of value in being able to transfer that prisoner to the person that's actually the main target, whether it be from the defense pact or the offensive pact. So it's like,
Yeah.
if I were the main person at a defense pact and I get attacked, and one of my allies captures someone, maybe they can trade the prisoner to me so I can use that person that night to get peace negotiated. That's a really interesting. I hadn't really thought about that before,
Yeah.
Ragnar 299, but that's a really good idea. Maybe we should consider that.
It is interesting. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely take that down as a note. We should add that into our design conversation. That's a good good concept.
I think we actually kind of like thought about something like that when we were doing the last iteration of the dungeon. It was one of many things we were like, oh, this would be great, but we might add it later on when we do the concepts like that, like the base things. But if we do have the time for it, it would be interesting. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's really maybe it's something you can only do inside of packs or something, but there's a lot of benefit to being able to trade prisoners to someone, because I remember we talked about in the stream about offensive and defensive packs and the way they work with allies. Only the person who is the head of that pack can negotiate the end of the war for everybody. So there's a lot of like, if I have like 4 prisoners, but I'm the ally in that war, I can't negotiate the peace for everybody. But if I can transfer that to the person that's the main person, that allows for a much bigger negotiation table. Like if it's like, hey man, we want this war to end. You attacked us first. I've now gotten 5 of your prisoners. Let's end this. But you couldn't do that if all of them were spread out. So that's a really, I think the way that we've designed defense and offensive packs, it's a really interesting concept there. Cool. See, this is why we have these streams. Sometimes really valuable feedback comes out of this. So I'm glad you're all here. And speaking of stream, I think that's going to be about it for us today. Georgie, thank you so much. Georgie and Georgie's beard. Thank you so much for joining us.
We are no problem from us. This is the first time I'm closing out the stream, so it's a bit weird for me, but oh well.
Wait, Veldroth TV asked an interesting question. I didn't see that one.
I'm not sure I did as well.
Or at Holy Moly asked a question. Did I miss that? I may have missed that one, Veldroth, unless it just came up a second ago. So I apologize. If we can save that one for the next stream, I'll make sure to grab it. I don't see it on my list. So
yeah, it doesn't hurt for the next stream.
Yeah,
can see it as well.
Yep. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining the stream. We're really glad you're here. We'll be back in another 4+ weeks or so with another topic. I think we may try to revisit multiplayer on the next one. I know we had a multiplayer part 2 planned, but we decided to skip it for the dungeon one right now. But we'll hopefully be bringing that back soon, or maybe something else more interesting. Who knows? And we will see you guys next time. Again, join our site, community.knightsofhonor.com. And the release date question, come on, Veldroth TV. That's not an interesting question. That's a question that everyone asks every single time. You're just baiting me. See, I'm getting baited. I'm getting baited in the live stream. We'll answer that question when we can, like always. If we could answer it, I would have said something. Thank you very much, everyone. We really appreciate you all joining. And we will see you next time. Take care, everyone, and have a good one. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Cheers.